you have my coffee? I'm still drinking it. I know it's crazy. There's not a lot left in it.
Edinson and Aaron, just checking you guys, when you open up your participants panel, can you see folks popping up in the waiting room?
So I will start admitting people
Okay,
to
so
the
you can
chat.
see that. Okay, great.
Hello, I just wanted to give you an update. We're gonna start in a couple minutes. We're waiting for a few people to trickle in. We'll probably start in another 2 minutes or 3 minutes. All right, Mac, are you good to go?
Yeah, ready when you are.
Okay, we can start. So I'll introduce, my name is Aaron Williams. I'm the Senior Transportation Planner over at ACHD, and this is the Meridian Downtown Neighborhood Transportation Plan. Basically, this is going to be the public input meeting. And to give a little background, the purpose of this plan is to update the original plan that was done. And really, we're trying to engage with the community to identify and prioritize future transportation projects. This includes bicycle, pedestrian crossings, and roadway projects within the Meridian downtown area. And so we can start off by introducing the team. And so I will go first. Aaron Williams, ACHD, the project lead for this. I'll pass it on to Meg.
Great. I'm Meg McCarthy and I'm ACHD accessibility and mobility and planning bike pit.
I could go next. My name is Edison Bautista, ACAC Senior Transportation Planner. Emma, you can go next.
Hi, I'm Emma Bowers. I'm the digital media coordinator on the communications team. So I do a lot of the social media. I think that might be it on ACHD's side. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think that's it on ACHD side. Mac, do you want to hand it off and introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Aaron. So yeah, my name is Mac Drzajic. I am a consultant with Alta Planning and Design, and ACHD has asked us to help lead the development of the recommendations for the Meridian Downtown Neighborhood Transportation Plan. So we're excited to be assisting the community with this effort, and I'll be kind of walking through the presentation today, and along with ACHD staff fielding your questions and comments at the end. This meeting is being recorded, just FYI. So if you're joining us via the recording, thanks for tuning in. Just a quick overview of what we're going to cover in this meeting. We'll talk a little bit about the project background, the process that we've been going through to eventually land on recommendations, and we will walk through a few of the recommended improvements. And then one of our primary purposes of this meeting is to really introduce folks to the online survey and comment map and its functionality. And ultimately, we'll be asking you all to especially record and document your feedback and input on those tools. At the end, we'll have some time for just open comments and questions. So just as a Zoom etiquette reminder, if you do join, and if you can mute your microphone during the presentation, there will be a time designated at the end to make comments or ask questions. Similarly, you may submit comments or questions into the chat. You can do that at any point during the presentation, and they'll be addressed at the end of the meeting. So, and again, a reminder that all comments, questions, chats will be documented as part of this recording. So we'll make sure that everything gets heard. So with that, let's jump right in. So the Meridian Downtown Planning Area, for those who aren't familiar with ACHD's planning areas, is bound by the streets you see listed here on the screen. So Cherry Lane and Fairview Avenue to the north, I-84 to the south, Linder Road to the west, and Locust Grove Road on the east side comprises the Meridian Downtown Planning Area. So as Aaron alluded to, the purpose of this project is to update efforts that were made in 2012 in what was then called the Downtown Meridian Neighborhood Pedestrian and Bicycle Plan. And the purpose is to update that plan using current guidelines that ACHD has adopted since then and best practices. As part of that, we want to report back on progress made since 2013 after the plan was adopted. And that will also be available for, some of those projects that have been completed are available on the online interactive comment map as well, which I'll show you. And lastly, the purpose of this this effort is to reconnect with the community on projects that have been completed and future projects in the area to understand what the current transportation needs are. So just some highlights when it comes to projects that have been completed since the 2012 plan was adopted. This map highlights some of those projects broken down by pedestrian projects, roadway projects that include bikeway and pedestrian improvements, and some crossing improvements as well. So just a couple projects to highlight: Pine Avenue roadway reconstruction east of Main Street included bicycle and pedestrian improvements. There was an enhanced pedestrian crossing put in at Franklin Road near Story Park. And as you can see on the map, several sidewalk connections surrounding Meridian Elementary School, just to highlight a few examples. But again, you can view all the completed projects on the interactive map that we'll look at later on. So just to give everyone a sense of the process that we are going through to update this plan, it consists of a few different elements. One is analyzing existing conditions. This is where some of ACHD's new guidelines and standards come into play, such as their livable streets performance measures, where we analyze the level of comfort, so to speak, for pedestrians and bicyclists on each corridor in the network. It's a way of trying to quantify stress levels and overall comfort that a pedestrian bicyclist might experience on any given corridor, and it helps us recognize high stress corridors that could be improved. As an example, many other mapping and analyses were done to review existing conditions. As part of that, previously recommended projects were reviewed, which we'll touch on. And with those two things, we developed draft recommendations, and now we're at the point where we're getting public input on those draft recommendations. And that public input period is open for the next few weeks until October 6th. So after we get public input, refining the recommendations will be the next step, and evaluating priorities using ACHD's community improvement program, and also taking into account what we hear from the public to understand what the priorities in the community are. After that, the plan gets submitted to ACHD Commission for review and adoption. So that's the overview of the process for this plan. So with regards to how the recommendations that will be showing on the screen were developed, a lot of these came from previous planning efforts. So first, we looked at projects from the previous plan that are still pending completion. So there are several recommendations in the plan adopted in 2013 that have yet to be completed. And so those were highlighted and included in this round of recommendations as well. Additionally, since the plan was adopted, ACHD has adopted the 2018 Roadways to Bikeways Master Plan Update, which includes several bicycle improvement projects. Those were also wrapped into the recommendation project list for this plan. Additionally, other projects were identified in coordination with the City Meridian and the Meridian Development Corps, and previous plans that they have led in the downtown area to understand kind of all the improvements that have been slated for the area. Those are all kind of wrapped into the project list that you'll see. And so what we want to spend our time doing now is talking about how you can view those recommendations and give your feedback. So on the screen is the URL to ACHD's public engagement site, engage.achdIdaho.org. And on this site, there's a site specifically for this project where you can complete an online survey and view the comment map. So what I'm going to do now is actually pull up that site and share my screen so that we can walk through kind of how to do that. And just to confirm for those on the call, you all can see the site, right? I want to make sure I'm not showing a blank screen. Okay, so this
Yep,
is
it's
what,
up.
if you go to engage.achdIdaho.org, this is what you will see. This is the home page for public engagement, and where you can see information on all kinds of projects going on right now within Ada County. If you scroll down, you'll notice the logo here for the Downtown Meridian Neighborhood Transportation Plan, and you can click on View Project, which will take you to this project specific engagement site. Here you can learn a little bit more about the plan. You can view the previously adopted plan if you wanted to do that. And this is where you can access both the survey and the interactive map. So if I click on survey, it takes me to this page where I can then click Take Survey. And this will walk you through a handful of questions where we can understand who we're hearing from and your preferences and some of your input generally regarding transportation in the area. If I go back, if you scroll down under Tell Us What You Think, there's several links to the survey throughout the site, so you can also access the survey with this button down here. If you click on this information and comment map link, this will take you to where you can view recommended projects and previously completed projects. You can tell us your priorities and so on and so forth. So if I click on View Completed Projects, this takes us to a map where, if you're curious, you can explore projects that have been completed since the last plan was adopted. And this is an interactive map, so you can click on segments on the map and learn a little bit more about that project. So this, for example, is one of the projects we highlighted in the slides on Pine Avenue, where the roadway is reconstructed, sidewalk and bike lanes were incorporated, as well as a new side pathway that connects to the 5 Mile pathway, 5 Mile Creek pathway. So this is where you can view completed projects. There isn't an opportunity necessarily to give feedback on this. This is just for your information. But if you'd like to continue on to explore projects being considered for future implementation, you click on the hyperlink here, which takes you to an overview map. Now, this is just an overview of all the recommendations being proposed. If you click on the next button, it walks through each project type by category. So, for example, the first one is sidewalk improvements, and those lines will show up on the map. And again, they're interactive, where you can click on each project to learn more. You can similarly scroll down the left side of the screen to look at projects by name and see the description of each project, and even leave a comment by clicking on the comment button. There are two ways that you can leave a comment on a recommended project. You can use that comment button in the left panel, which will bring up a field for you to enter your comment and your name. Similarly, you can click on the map on a project and click on comments, and that will bring up the same field. You'll also be able to see comments made previously by residents, as you can see here on the screen. In addition to making comments, you can express your approval or disapproval of projects as well by clicking on the like or dislike buttons. So you can see here that on this sidewalk project, 2 people have expressed that they like that project. And so that will be recorded and factored into the prioritization process as we consider public support for these projects. As you can see as well, in the pop-up information, it gives you the name, the description, and the source of that recommendation. So in this case, on 3rd Street, there are recommendations for sidewalk improvements based on what is in the 2012 plan that is yet to be completed, as well as the integrated 5-year work plan. As another example of a project source, this one in particular on State Avenue was sourced from Meridian Development Corps' Northern Gateway District Street Assessment. So we try to encapsulate all projects that have been previously recommended to make sure that they make their way into the recommended project list here. So that's just the sidewalks. And if you proceed by clicking next, you can then see bicycle improvements, and all the functionality is the same here as well. So you can click on a project, like, dislike, make a comment. You can also do that in the side panel. So many of the projects you see here for the bicycle improvements came either from the integrated 5-year work plan or the roadways to bikeways master plan update, which again was adopted in 2018. If you have questions about specific projects that you want to ask during this meeting, you're welcome to drop them in the chat, or again, wait until the end of the question and comment period, and we can zoom in and out of this map and address those comments. But ultimately, the purpose of this exercise is to show you how to use the tool and invite you to go do it on your own computer and give us your feedback. This is also available on mobile devices as well. So if I click next, that takes us to crossing improvements. And I failed to talk about the functionality on each of these maps, and that is to add a suggestion. So if you feel that a project is missing from the map that you feel should be considered as a recommendation in the plan, you can click on this click to add suggestion button. Doing that, it gives you a quick tutorial on how to use this tool. It's pretty intuitive. You can drop a pin where you think maybe an improvement needs to be made. You'll enter your name, you'll select what type of improvement you're talking about. And since we're on the crossing improvement map, maybe I think there needs to be a crossing improvement here. And so I would put a comment on what I think that improvement needs to be. And then I'd click save. And now that comment is saved on the map. You can click on show comments in the menu at the top right, and you can see that the comment I just made shows up, and this is available for viewing to anyone who gets on the comment map in the public. So you can also see other people's comments about what they think might be missing as well. And similarly, you may like or dislike those. It helps us to understand maybe where there's more attention needed. Finally, there's the roadway improvements, which includes intersection improvements that are slated. Many of these projects were identified in the ACHD capital improvement project list. So some of them also came from the Northern Gateway District Street Assessment, as previously alluded to. Keep in mind that roadway projects can include multiple improvements, including bicycle and pedestrian improvements. So in general, the approach was that if there's a project that includes multiple aspects, in addition to bicycle and pedestrian improvements, they were included in the roadway improvements map. And so, for example, if you click on this roadway improvement, you'll notice that this project description says that it includes bicycle and sidewalk improvements. It's not just serving vehicular traffic. And that concludes the recommended projects. If you click next after the roadway projects, or if you click on tell us your priorities up at the top, you'll be taken to this overview where you can see all the projects. And you'll notice that if I toggle on and off show and hide comments, we can start to see these green pins, which are what people have already indicated are priorities. So this page is intended for us to hear from you on if you could choose one area, one corridor, one location in which you would like to prioritize investment. You can voice that using this map. So if I click here on the button, similar to the last suggestion button, I can suggest a priority. Now, since I've already been on this page and indicated a priority, a test priority, it's telling me that I'm limited to one priority. So I can either change that priority or leave my previously voted priority as is. If I click change priority, I can then fill in some information about what exactly I'm wanting prioritized there. It could be a project that already exists. It could be a newly suggested improvement. I click save. That will then be recorded. So again, each participant is limited to one priority. We really just want people to focus on kind of what their highest priority is. And that, together with the likes and dislikes that we see on all the recommended features, will be accounted for and considered as part of the public support. So you can also access the survey from this site as well. Like I said, there's multiple spots from which you can access the online survey. If you happen to fall upon the web map first, you can still access the survey, but ultimately the best spot to access all of this is from ACHD's engagement website, which again is engage.achdIdaho.org.
Hey, Mac, I wanted
Yeah.
to tie in. I noticed that we had someone that came late that was curious about the click to add suggestions for the sidewalk, bicycle, and roadway improvements. And I just wanted to highlight that you can find like that section that we just discussed by going to the explore recommended projects and then hitting next, and then it'll take you through the various ones that you would like to add suggestions for about the recommended projects.
Great.
And so that'll take you through bicycle, roadway improvements, crossings, and pedestrian improvements, FYI.
Awesome. Yeah, so that concludes the kind of walkthrough of the functionality of the tool. If there's any questions, any other questions in addition to that on the functionality of the tool or in general, now is the time where we kind of open things up for comments or questions from any participants.
Hi, this is Dion Giuseppe. I had a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Dion.
So, and if I missed it coming in a bit late, I apologize. But one thing that this is great, by the way. This is exactly what has been top of mind. And I won't speak for residents in my area, but when things just kind of happen and there isn't a lot of visibility to it before or after, it's really difficult to understand how or why it happened. Changes in proposal, both bike and pedestrian changes and other changes. So that platform visibility is something that sadly has been lacking. I think this is exactly what we needed. So awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I really appreciate it. The second question I had is, how does ACHD or really any entity to incorporate the feedback as a result of the comments and questions on the platform into its planning process and its consideration process, or do they? How does that work?
Let's see. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so that's tied into, we have a prioritization tool. And so from there, once we collect all the information about all the recommended projects, we go through and highlight their priorities of each projects. And that breaks down pretty much. Edison, do you want to tie into this? We look at cost, we look at functionality, we look at level of traffic stress. Is there anything that I missed in that regard, Edison?
No, you're in the right direction, and certainly we look at different factors that tie into our overall our long range planning process, like the integrated priority plan. So as we get feedback, we go back to the table, review all the recommendations, and then we will determine the visibility of each project that ultimately goes to the recommended project list for the neighborhood plans.
And so we kind of like rate the projects, and based on the prioritization tool and the public feedback, and we all put that together to formulate the list. And from there on, we pass it on and it ties into our integrated 5-year work plan.
So it's very much a weighted analysis of feedback plus other variables and data-driven decisions that are made as well.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's great. So how far in advance are future projects posted? Year, 6 months? What kind of visibility to advance warnings do we have before things are actually executed?
How far in advance are the recommended projects posted?
Yeah, so if it's approved, if a proposal's initiated and there's positive feedback, it lines up. What's the advance notice in the ACHD planning process that tells us in 6 months the following activities will be executed in the following areas? Or is that really what this tool is for?
So maybe I can jump in on this one. So after the projects that we identify through this process are identified and adopted by our commission, then it jumps into the following process for a typical project for ACHD. So all the projects are then weighted at a county-wide level at different. So we do a typical life time of a project follows the timeline of a scoping, programming, and then that goes into that then trickles into design right away in construction. So that's a typical lifespan of the project. So they're not immediate projects as Mac and Aaron mentioned before. That's why we have even projects that were identified back in 2012 that haven't been completed yet, because in general, all the projects that we identified ends up being that they're programmed and weighted in the overall priority of the entire county. This also takes into account the city priorities, the public priorities, and a lot of factors come into play as we start programming these projects that will end up ultimately into its final completion of when we goes into construction. Certainly through the process, we still interact with the public at certain stages, like through the integrated prior work plan. There's an opportunity, that's another opportunity where the public will be able to emphasize how much of a priority this a specific project is for the community, as well as through the city and through the city, they can voice the interest of those projects to be raised to the top as they move along the process of the lifespan of the projects we identify through this plan.
Okay, thank you. And just one more platform related question. In going to the site, I noticed that users are anonymous. Is that by intention? The feedback is anonymous?
So it's not required for you to enter your name, but you can enter your name.
Okay. And there's no formal registration process. You just type your name in and that's it. Okay.
Right. But we are, I don't know if this is what you're getting at, but we can track user IDs and IP addresses to ensure kind of the integrity of the survey and the input given.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going, is like, how do you know where it's coming from? And somebody could be just assaulting the site with a lot of feedback to skew the results of the outcome of the data. That's the problem with anonymity, I guess, right? So good to know. Okay, so those of us that elect to be known can be, at least at this point.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, thank you. I appreciate indulging my questions. Hopefully I didn't take us too far afield. I don't want to monopolize the time.
Thank you for the questions. Yeah.
And Mac and Aaron, we have a comment in the chat, and I will read it for you guys to either provide a response or so the comment says, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the public involvement to identify projects. But then there will be a further public involvement in the integrated fair work plan. And then once we start to plan and design an individual project, Mac and Aaron?
Yeah, so right now we're going through it, and this is giving us not like a sample, but it's basically painting a picture for us. And then from there, when it gets to the integrated 5-year work plan, you'll have another option to go through and add comments about the project when it's up for grabs. And so then after that part, basically it goes through when the project actually is up for, like, it's done through scoping and now it's like the concept and design. There's also another opportunity there where you can add input and information about how the project will affect you and really help in with the concepts of the project. And so this is kind of like it's the beginning process for finding these projects within the communities, and then from there on, they just climb up the ladder.
So we have an additional question, Shirley, Vidian. Mac, Aaron, do you guys want to recap on how to get to the tool very quickly?
Yeah, sure.
You want to show them, Mac, real quick?
Yeah. So the site from which ACHD houses all of its public engagement opportunities is engaged at achd.idaho or .achdIdaho.org. And so that has been dropped in the chat as well for those who want to look at that. And then Shandy's reminding us that achdIdaho.org/projects is another way to access this site. So if you scroll down, you'll notice that Downtown Meridian Transportation Plan is on here, and you can click View Project. That takes you to the project page where you can access the survey and the comment map tool. So those links are scattered all around, so you can't miss it. But if you click on Information and Comment Map, that'll take you to this interactive mapping tool.
I will say, if you guys know anyone that's in this meeting or that's not in this meeting, to really just stress the getting them onto this survey and to look at this map, to add their recommendations or their insight, because we definitely appreciate it if they live in the area, to get as much input as we can as we go through and update these plans.
I'm going to put a little plug in here for social media. If it's easier, you can absolutely share the post from our page. It's on Nextdoor, it's Twitter, and it's also on Facebook. And I also encourage anybody who's not following us on there to do so, because we do put out project updates and put out information like this.
Thank you, Emma. And so, Mac, did we hit every point that we were trying to hit?
Yeah, if there's no further comments or questions, I've covered everything that we had planned in terms of showing the tool and walking through the planning process. So that's it.
I have one more I put in the chat.
Yeah. So we got another question. Is the quantitative analysis, traffic density stress, published anywhere as it relates to the specific projects?
Can you repeat that question, Edison? I can't seem to find that comment in the chat.
Yeah, are these chats being sent to everyone or just Edison?
Oh, sorry.
I just sent it to Edison. Sorry about that.
No worries. Let me repeat it. Is the quantity and the quantitative analysis, traffic density, stress, etc., published anywhere as it relates to specific projects?
So the question is whether or not, like for a given corridor where a project is recommended, if the existing conditions analysis for that corridor is going to be documented anywhere.
That's the question. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So the plan itself will consist of a few different chapters, a few different sections, and that the second chapter of each neighborhood plan is the existing conditions analysis, where the corridor in question can be looked at through many different lenses, such as traffic volumes, bicycle and pedestrian level of traffic stress, roadway level of service, so on and so forth. So the answer to that question is yes. In terms of what the public can view right now on the interactive map, it doesn't necessarily go into that kind of detail. If you were to click on a project, if you wanted to learn about the existing conditions of that corridor right now on the web map, that's not available, but that is included in each neighborhood plan.
Okay, and that's publicly consumable data.
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to read out Shandy's comment. I hope that's okay. For those of you who are on the project page, that's on that engage link, please subscribe to the project. Just hit subscribe. There's, I think it's at the bottom. If you scroll down a little bit more, the stay informed. We do send out emails for major updates from that page. So if you're there, please encourage your friends to sign up too, so that way you don't have to go looking for the information. It just arrives right in your inbox.
Yeah, great comment.
Oh, and we got a question earlier. Is the recording gonna be available online? Which I think it does, is gonna be posted on the project webpage as well as in our ACC YouTube channel, correct, Emma?
Yes, Edinson, we will post this recording on the project webpage.
Nice.
Perfect, thank you.
Do we have any more comments or questions or concerns regarding this project?
Edinson, if I could ask you to copy and paste any other chats that were sent directly to you into the chat to everyone. That way it'll be recorded with this Zoom recording.
Yeah.
That was the only question I got directly to me. Thank you.
Okay, if there's no more questions or comments, I think we can wrap it up, Mac. And I do want to say thank you for you guys spending the time to go and listen through how we do this plan and provide insight. So I look forward to seeing the data that we collect from what we get for Meridian Downtown.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank
Yep.
you. Bye now.
You guys have a good one.
Thank you.
Can we start recording?
Let me do that.
Because Mac, you have to edit it then. You
Yeah.
have to just
Cut it
and
out.